freezing in here, man. Gotta keep the heater off though because it produces way too much noise. Hey, what's up everyone, Danny here. This video is going to be a collaborated competition between myself and another YouTuber, Oafah, and I'll have all of his information down in the description section below so that you can check him out after this video. But he focuses on PC content like myself with an emphasis on used hardware and helping people save money, so it just made sense for us to collaborate. Originally we were going to do a used PC build off, but that's kind of been done a lot lately between channels, and at the time of us coming together to discuss this collaboration, which was a few months ago, I had just gotten off of the budget build showdown, so we wanted to do something kind of newer and fresh so that we can bring something more interesting to the table for you guys, the viewers. And Oafah had this awesome idea to do a used PC flipping challenge, and it's exactly how it sounds, but here's a quick summary of all the rules and guidelines that we had for this friendly competition. Each person would search for a fully built system for $300 or less. The computer had to be full and complete, ready to boot up and run. This means that the GPU is optional since you could technically run on integrated graphics. The goal is to resell it and make the largest profit. And when I say profit, I don't mean while ripping other people off in the process. You know, we didn't just go out and buy super cheap computers and then relisted them for way over their value, hoping that some sucker would come along and we could con them out of their hard-earned money. What we're trying to do is show a proof of concept that you can take undervalued hardware and flip it and make a buck in the end. You know, there are legit ways to do it where you make some money in the end while passing along perfectly good hardware at fair market prices. But I digress, let's get back to the rules. The PCs can be broken down and the parts can be listed individually and resold like that, or we could leave it as a whole and just flip the entire thing. The winner would be decided based on whoever has the highest percentage gained in the end. But alright, let's check out what I got and how I did. So this is the computer that I found for the competition. This one stuck out to me because it had a pretty low price point at $250, and I believe I didn't have the price filter on. So the fact that it was $250 among all the other crap was enough to catch my attention. But then I saw that it had an i5 4430 in it. And you know, this is an entry-level i5 for the Haswell desktop line, but I knew that it paired easily with cards like the RX 480 or even the GTX 1060. So for $250, you could throw in like a $150 to $200 graphics card and you could get a really good system. I knew that the CPU and motherboard were probably worth around $150. So that would mean that the rest of it only needed to be worth $100 to break even, which wouldn't have been a problem because if you look at all the extra stuff that's thrown in, like the wireless mouse and keyboard and Chromecast, as well as the rest of the system, that'd be easy to fill up the $100 and then some. The graphics card was probably the most disappointing part of the build since it was a 1GB GTX 650, but I think that gets a pass considering the rest of the hardware for this price point. I contacted him and set up a time to meet, and I actually recorded that process, so I'll show you that now.
The car can in 15 minutes.
Yes. And now I guess we just wait. I'm actually messaging Oafah right now if I can get this to focus. But yeah, I was just clarifying some rules with them because I'm asking him if I can sell the Chromecast keyboard and mouse to see if, you know, if I can calculate that into the final. Oh, in the safe way. Well, okay, I guess we're going inside. Where would he be? I don't know. Nice to meet you. When did you build this?
I forgot, like 2 years.
2 years? Okay. This looks legit. I don't really have any questions, so let me... Here you go, you can count it.
Yeah, it's so good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yay! Now I gotta make sure this thing doesn't move around. Let me drive back. Alright, this should be good. Alright. So that was a pretty easy deal. The computer is actually really clean. I'm gonna take a better look at it at home and boot it up and all that stuff. But let's get home first.
It's all blurry now.
It's okay. I'm not sure if he dusted this beforehand, but it doesn't look like it's used much at all. Normally I would advise to check out the computer and make sure it boots and all that stuff while you're, meeting with the person before you hand them the money. Because if you take home a broken computer, you're kind of screwed, especially if you're paying cash. But I tested it at home, like I just showed you. It worked perfectly. So then I went and actually itemized each of the parts that I got, as well as the extra stuff, to see how much it was actually worth. When I was initially looking at the ad and doing the mental math of all the parts in my head, I didn't write anything down, and I thought the tower itself was worth around $350. But here's an itemized list of everything, and it actually comes out to only $300, which isn't horrible. That's still $50, not including all the other extra peripherals that I'm going to be able to sell. So at this point, I had to decide whether or not I was going to sell it, individually or resell the tower as a whole. And I ended up deciding to sell it as a whole because if you look at the list and all the parts, I said it was worth around $300 if I were to part everything out. But that would mean I would have to list 7 different items on 7 different Craigslist ads. I guess I could combine it into one, but then people would want combo deals and all that kind of stuff. So I would potentially have to do 7 different meetups to sell each of different components if one different person bought everything. So for $300, I didn't think that would be as worth it as just listing the entire build, which I think is definitely worth $300 as a whole. So that means 1 meetup and then 1 cash grab, and then I would do separate listings for the mouse and keyboard and Chromecast. But since I had the system on hand already, to help out the Craigslist ad, I decided to run some benchmarks. This is also just for my own benefit because I've never actually owned a GTX 650 1GB before. So this would just be for my own, having fun and learning, as well as helping so that I can put some of these benchmarks in the next Craigslist ad that I write to help sell the system. So here's the benchmarks. All these were done in 1080p, and the first one you see here is the Unigine Heaven Run. This one's the 3D Mark Skydiver run, and I totally forgot to grab the screenshot of the score at the end of the test. I took the screenshot, but I left it on the computer and forgot to transfer it over to a USB, thumb drive. So I forgot what the score was, but it ran pretty smoothly. Here's the Shadow Mordor Run on medium settings. It's showing that it was below 30 FPS average, but it was actually pretty smooth and it didn't look too bad for medium. And dropping it down to low would definitely get, around the 35 to 40 frames per second mark. This right here is the most surprising benchmark, the one for Grand Theft Auto, and this was done at 1080p. I had all the settings down to the lowest, and I even had to override the recommended limits since the 1GB card was definitely holding it back. So even on low, it was pushing over 1GB of VRAM usage. But I mean, it ran freaking smooth, and honestly, at low settings, I think it still looked great. So this would definitely help out when writing the Craigslist ad because it's technically a Grand Theft Auto 5 capable computer. So when it comes to writing Craigslist ads, I think there's like a real fine line between writing too much and then not writing enough. Like I've seen ads where people write only 1 sentence and they're trying to sell a whole computer somehow. There's like no details as to what components are inside, and those are the ads I usually skip because if you don't write anything about it, you probably have crap inside the computer, which is why you don't want to list the parts because they're old and probably not worth much. But at the same time, if you write an essay and kind of overwrite everything and have like pages of text, I usually find that's an indication that you think your system is worth way more than it actually is because you feel the need to overhype and over talk things. Like, look at this. No one wants to read all this. This is just way too much information. And if you have good parts at a good price, they'll speak for themselves if it's a good deal. This is my ad. I kept it pretty simple and I just listed off all the parts and had 1 paragraph kind of explaining the benchmarks. I also made sure to take very high quality pictures to show all the components so that even the text on it was readable. And then here's the other 2 ads for the extras. I kept these a lot shorter since they're kind of self-explanatory. I recorded on the way to each of the deals and then afterwards when I had the cash in hand. But that footage actually ended up being pretty boring, so I'll just show you the footage right now with me afterwards with the cash in hand from each of the deals. So that was quick and easy. Here's the $15. So I just sold it, and here's He paid in 20, so it's a lot of bills. $20, and we are good to go. Selling off all the parts was actually pretty easy. I had all the listings up for less than a week, and I didn't even have to refresh them. And for each of them, I had multiple interested parties trying to pick them up. So I think I may have either listed them for too little, or I just got lucky. But yeah, these are my final results. I made back the original $250 that I spent, plus an additional $85 on top. So this results in a 34% profit from what I originally spent. I also ended up with a box of extra stuff that is not going to be added to the final tally, but it's just going to be stuff that I can keep and maybe use in the future. It just wouldn't have been worth it to sell them. This is stuff that my girlfriend would consider junk, and she would say that I'm hoarding them and I have a hoarding problem. But if you're into tech, then you know that this is all worth keeping just in case you need it. But we have a VGA cable, which I will probably never use since I already have tons of these, but who knows, maybe one day it would be worth something. We have an HDMI cable, which is a branded one, PNY. Not that that matters, but this is actually kind of useful. An Ethernet cable, which is also kind of useful. And then a basic 3-button mouse, which I've actually been using for my test bench and for new builds where I don't have any OS on it or where I'm messing around in the BIOS. It's just super plug and play, and I haven't had a problem with it being detected for when I do a fresh install of Windows or stuff like that. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then please be sure to leave a like because that helps me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, whether you're coming from Oafahs or if you stumbled across my video randomly searching through YouTube, be sure to check out the rest of my content if you enjoyed this one. And if you like all the rest of the stuff, then consider subscribing. I just want to give a huge thanks to Oafah for collaborating with me on this, and a huge thanks to him for coming up with this idea. It was mainly his idea to do this flipping challenge, and I think it worked out great. Be sure to check out his results on his channel. I have it linked down below. I'm pretty sure he blew my results out of the water. I don't know exactly how he did as of releasing this video, but we kind of back and forth and kind of hinted to each other how he did. And by the sounds of it, I think he completely killed me. But don't just only check out his video for the competition. Check out the rest of his content as well, because he has some great stuff. He's a super funny dude, and his PC knowledge as well as the used market knowledge completely transcends mine. He's been doing this for like way longer than I have, and he's actually someone that I really look up to when it comes to this stuff. So if you guys enjoy my content, definitely check out his stuff. He has a different twist to it. He's more comedic, and he's a little bit more vulgar, which isn't a bad thing, and I know you guys will love his content. But that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Be sure to stay tuned next week on Christmas Day. I will have a brand new budget build with tons of benchmarks and stuff. But that's all I have in terms of announcements. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.